The universe was very vast. The universe is vast and contains trillions of galaxies, each of which contains billions of stars. This means that there are a lot of potential places for life to exist. It was taken as a very strange thing that among the countless stars, our planet was the only one living thing. Eventually, some people were even talking about conspiracy theories, that some humans had already harmonized with aliens and that the U.S. government had concealed this fact to prevent the world from becoming confused. As such, humanity's interest in aliens is growing. As a result, humans planned a program called the SETI Project to explore extraterrestrial intelligence. The founder, astronomer Frank Drake, created the famous Drake equation. Drake's equation is an equation that calculates the number of intelligent alien life possible for humans and ghosts, showing a hopeful future for alien research. Decades after the birth of the Drake equation, they are saying that the possibility of alien existence obtained by the Drake equation is wrong. So, are there really no aliens in the universe? Or is the existence of aliens just unpredictable? Because our science and technology are not yet advanced? The science that we're going to find out in the corner of the room today is the real reason why scientists have finally discovered that there are no aliens. The author of Cosmos, Carl Sagan, once said this: "It would be a waste of a lot of space if only we lived on Earth in this universe." Scientists have discovered that many of the ingredients necessary for life, such as carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, are common throughout the universe. This suggests that the conditions necessary for life may be present on other planets. No matter how negative you are about alien life, you can't really refute what Carl Sagan says. There is a vast universe that can only be expressed in the observable universe, which is about 46.5 billion light-years old. If we look at the range of the observable universe, it may be a very arrogant statement that we are the only creatures in the universe. Astronomers have recently discovered a number of exoplanets, or planets that orbit stars other than the Sun. Some of these exoplanets are located in the habitable zone, which is the region around a star where liquid water could exist on the surface of a planet. This suggests that there may be other planets out there that could support life. And Carl Sagan introduces Drake's equation. Drake's equation is an equation that expresses the number of extraterrestrial civilizations that can send and receive signals considering various variables. And if you put the appropriate value in the unknown of the equation, you can get an answer to the possibility that extraterrestrial life. At first glance, it looks very complicated. But if you look at it one by one, it wasn't that complicated. In order to save the number n of possible intelligent alien life civilizations in our galaxy, we first need to know the rate of stars being produced in our galaxy. And we need to know the probability Fp that the stars above have planets. Next, you have to multiply the number of planets in the star that life can live on. We're talking about a planet that exists in what's commonly called the Goldilocks zone. And we're talking about places like our Earth. Then, fluid represents the time when an intellectual civilization that satisfies the conditions can exist, with phi, the probability that life will evolve directly into civilization, and Fc, the probability that life will develop to the extent that it can send detectable signals. And in 1961, Drake figured out the probability by substituting the data from the results of this equation's research. The probability of one star being formed in Al star is 0.2 to 0.5 for the number of planets in the star, 1 to 5 for the number of habitable planets in the star, and 1 to 5 for the probability of evolution into intelligent creatures. The result is that there are at least 20 civilizations in our galaxy. And if there are many, 50 million civilizations of 50 million. Now, of course, if you look at these results, you'll find it very strange, but if it weren't for this number of civilizations, we would have discovered extraterrestrial life long ago. In fact, there's something that we need to be very careful about. In this Drake equation, the rate at which stars are formed, the probability that Al star has a star system, the number of planets in Fp stars that can live, is that we can get relatively accurate values. But the terms after that are all based on our assumptions. It was a very happy circuit that there was a 1 chance that life would occur on the planet in the Goldilocks zone. And that life would evolve into intelligent life. At that time, Drake saw that any planet where life could occur would almost inevitably occur. And that intelligent life would occur enough to send a signal. However, after years of no sign of alien civilization being discovered, there were objections that their value of 1 was ridiculous and much smaller. In the end, we calculated it on our own using data at the time of 2012. And we derived a 2 value that was very different from the initial value. Since then, the cumulative data values have been substituted to lower the result to 0.8. And some scholars say that the possibility that we are living in our own galaxy could be the only, or the largest number of our planet. The reason for this disagreement is because of the period L, during which all conditions of life can exist on top of the last variable. In the entire universe, real life evolved into intelligent life at birth. And our planet is the only one that has developed enough to send detectable signals. But the problem is that we don't know when it will collapse. Of course, just because the conditions for life may be present on other planets, it doesn't mean that there is actually life there. However, the evidence suggests that the chances of aliens existing in space are good. This is because we can only know about the lifespan of the Earth, and it is not strange when our humanity, such as the global warming war, is destroyed. So we have no choice but to guess about the length of time that life can exist. So the Drake equation was not mathematically a formula that tells us the possibility of aliens, but rather a guidebook that explains the variables that we need to focus on to determine the possibility of alien civilization. But since we couldn't just wait here, we have another guideline for the possibility of alien life. Scientists who get ideas from Drake's equation start to do a little bit of this equation. We don't know the probability of life on a planet, so we decided to infer it from the data we have. Some of the variables were similar to Drake's equation. The probability that stars like the Sun will be born, the probability that planets like Earth will be in the Goldilocks zone. What's added is how active supernovae are in our galaxy, how the gas molecular clouds that make new stars are distributed, and how new stars are born accordingly. Simply put, we're going to look at how far, and often the materials that make new stars are spread by supernova explosions, and whether they explode too often to prevent new planets from being born. But the probability of life being born and evolving on a variable planet that was uncertain in the Drake equation was still a problem. Instead of vaguely setting the probability, we created a model. By dividing the time it took for the creatures to evolve into intellectual civilizations into 3 cases. 1 billion years, 3 billion years, 5 billion years. And the results were incredible. Intellectual life was best seen in the range of about 13,000 light-years from the center of our galaxy, and 8 billion years after the birth of the galaxy. It was the most favorable condition for the birth of intellectual life. But our planet is about 25,000 light-years away from the center of the galaxy. And we're 13.5 billion years old since the birth of the galaxy. In other words, if there was life in our galaxy, it was only about 13,000 light-years closer to Earth, 5.5 billion years before us. In fact, intelligent life was born billions of years before we were born. And without waiting for us, we may have already gone through hundreds of thousands of births and destruction. Of course, just because the conditions for life may be present on other planets, it doesn't mean that there is actually life there. However, the evidence suggests that the chances of aliens existing in space are good. And maybe we're wasting our time looking for them, who happen to be born by chance from their children and don't exist anymore. We humans have long been interested in extraterrestrial life in the Earth's gourd universe. The result was the Drake equation, which was the first equation for the possibility of alien life in mankind. And a new equation was created to fill in the gaps in this equation. But the result of the new equation is very frustrating for us. Maybe we're the only living thing in this galaxy that has intelligent life. But in the history of science, which is not long, but not short, there was no such thing as absolute. Carl Sagan, a great scientist who is considered to have aroused the Public's interest in science said this: "It would be a waste of a lot of space. If only we lived on Earth in this universe." In addition to the factors mentioned above, there are a number of other lines of evidence that suggest that aliens may exist. For example, some scientists believe that the universe is simply too big for us to be the only intelligent life in it. They point to the fact that the Milky Way galaxy alone contains hundreds of billions of stars, and that many of these stars are likely to have planets orbiting them. If even a small fraction of these planets could support life, then there could be billions of inhabited planets in our galaxy alone.